Hi, this is Dan here. I hope you're doing really well today. A while ago I did a lesson on 11 essential bass chord shapes. What I thought I'd do today, since that lesson proved quite popular, was how to play 3 chord progressions using some of those shapes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the chord progression into this TC Electronic Ditto pedal, do a little solo over that, and just teach you how to play the chord progression. This is the first one. For this lesson, I'm just going to teach you the chord progression, but if you do want me to show you some of the solo ideas and dig a little bit deeper into the theory behind this and how to use that looper pedal, leave a comment below and I'll do one on that next week. But here we go, we've got B-7 to E7, and we're going to do B-7 rooted on the A string, so that's the 14th fret of the A string with your second finger. Then you've got the D, that's the flat third of the chord, and you've got that on the 12th fret of the D string, first finger. And then third finger on the A, that's the flat 7. That's the 14th fret of the G string. That is a B-7 chord shape that's really good to play on that A string. Now, this is the 2 chord. I said I was not going to go into the theory, but let me briefly explain it. This is a B-7, it's the 2 chord in A major. And then we're going to go to the E7, which is the 5. So this is a 2-5 chord progression, and because it's emphasizing that 2 chord, it sounds Dorian-y. It's the Dorian mode, B Dorian. And that's what I was playing over it. So if you have a looper pedal, or if you just have some recording software and you play these chords in, you can experiment with that sound over it. Like I said, that's as far as I'm going to talk about it in this lesson. I'll do something on the other one. So we've got B-7. Now I'm choosing to pick those notes individually to arpeggiate the chord. And I'm doing that with this technique here where I'm using thumb, index and middle fingers. That's called a free stroke. A rest stroke is what you're probably used to when you pluck. When you pluck and you rest on a string. This is a free stroke, so I'm going thumb, index, middle. You can do any combination of those fingers and all of them together if you want. I'm steadying everything by just placing my wrist on where the bass cuts away a little bit here and just plonking my hand over those strings. So there's always a digit dealing with each string. Then I'm going to go to the E7. We've got the root of the chord, the E on the 12th fret of the E string. Then I'm playing the D, second finger. That's the 12th fret of the D string. That's the flat 7. And then either third finger or little finger on the 13th fret of the G string. That's a G sharp, and it's that third up the octave, and that's an E7 chord. I find that using my little finger keeps the wrist a little straighter, so experiment with both ways, see which one you like. You're not really going to be playing this on gigs, but it's fun to do. It's very good practice. If you've got a looper pedal, it's very good practice for your timing and your recording technique. From one chord to the other, the transition from one to the other, that will be the hardest thing if you've never done this. So it's the age-old thing of just slowing down. The hardest thing is the change, so maybe I'll just go straight into that. Anything difficult, I'll tend to cycle around it and slow it down, then you can build up speed from there. So that's the first chord progression. Let's move on to the next. I'll do this down here now. And we're using harmonics, so we've got this E minor chord. Going to a D, going to a C. Let me play it in first, do a little bit of a solo, then I'll show you how to play it. Right, so that's in the key of E minor. So everything solo-wise I was using E minor pentatonic, E minor blues, just adding the flat 5 in there, and E natural minor. It's really good method actually of learning your scales and learning how to solo. It's just playing a chord progression and doing what I was doing over it. It's great fun. Like I said, if you want that lesson diving into that a bit more, do let me know in the comments below. But this is the chord progression. Two ways of playing this. You can do the classical guitar technique finger style that I was doing before. And there I was using thumb, index, middle again. Or you could play a bit more traditional where you pluck. You pluck the root note that's on the A string, and then you'll use your index and middle for the top one. So do what feels right for you. I might go in and out of both techniques. But so we've got 7th fret A string, that's the E, that's the root note. Those are the root notes, frets 7 to 5 to 3 on the A string, the E, D to C. Very classic chord progression this. So what you're going to do is place your first finger over the metal fret of the 5th fret, okay, and those are the harmonics you're getting, whether you're using your thumb down here or your index. Your index and middle are going to be doing the plucking of the D and the G strings. So it's a very light touch, don't press in to get the harmonics, and you're just using one finger for those 2 notes. And I'm doing that rhythm, but you can do any variation of this. Also, when I was actually playing that in, it was too slow. I would have done it a bit faster, probably, if I was practicing this a bit more. But you can do whatever you like if you've got your looper pedal. So we've got the D now, and it's a very similar thing, but now our harmonics are on the 7th fret. And I find, because of the stretch between the first fingers and those harmonics, I find it easier to use my little finger straightened up and just barring across those 2 strings. But you can use your 3rd if you want to. Now if I use my 3rd, it just causes more of a bend here. And I know a lot of people don't like using their little finger, but once you get the stretches between these fingers, you know, good, you get that stretch a bit wider, it becomes easier. I assure you of that. Then it's exactly the same shape. You just move down to the C with your first finger, 3rd fret of the A string. And now our harmonics are over the 5th fret. Okay, so very slowly. My thumb is resting on the E, so that is muted. But you do have to take care, especially when playing with chords, not to accidentally knock strings, and then you end up with a bit of a mush going on. So your technique has to be very clean here. And again, when you're recording into a looper pedal or into your digital audio workstation, your technique has to be so clean. And if you do record yourself, you'll quickly realize that you need to get timing together and clean technique together. So it's an excellent thing to do. Okay, so then you can play your E minor over that. Right, we're going to move to the last chord progression for this lesson, and we're going from E minor to E major. So now, I think I didn't mention it before, but all of these chord shapes and the other ones you can download via the link below, and that's all covered in that other lesson. But now we've got this chord, which is rooted on the E string. So E, 12th fret, first finger. Then you've got the 5th of the chord, which is the note B, and that's on the 14th fret of the A string. I'm using my 3rd finger. You've got to get your fingers quite curled and play on the fingertips when you're playing with chords, otherwise you'll just inadvertently mute other strings. So now you probably do want to bring your wrist down a bit across here and it's a little bit of a bend. If any of this does hurt, obviously you need to stop, okay, and for that day, and don't push through the pain barrier, which is what I did when I learnt guitar many, many years ago. I pushed through the pain barrier, especially doing all these bar chords, and I really hurt myself, okay? So don't do what I did. Do take regular breaks. The final finger is the second finger on the G sharp, the 13th fret of the G string, and that's really on the fingertip there in order to get this shape. And I'm going thumb, index, middle, same as before, but now I'm on the E, the A, and the G strings. Then we're going 3 frets down to the C sharp. It's almost the same, but it's a minor version. That was the major shape. This is minor, so we're on C sharp. That's the 9th fret of the E string. I've got first finger on that, then 2 frets higher on the G sharp. This is the 11th fret of the A string. You've got your 3rd finger there. Now this, I mentioned that word before, bar. If you don't know what that is, it's when you see guitarists, they use the first finger to lay across all the strings, and that's called a bar, that's barring. And that's what I'm doing to play the 9th fret of the G string, which is the note E here, okay? That's a little awkward to do. It took me ages to learn to do that. So again, don't worry if you can't do that. I suppose you could also do that. First little finger and second finger. It's a bit awkward. Ultimately, in the long run, I think it's good to learn how to do this bar. So that's C sharp minor, and then we're going A major 7. Second finger on the A, 12th fret of the A string. That's the root. The major 3rd is the 11th fret of the D string, okay? Note C sharp. And then finally, 3rd finger on the 13th fret, there's that G sharp again. This is on the G string. So again, you could play everything together. Then A major 7, back to E. Very simple major progression. It's the 1 chord to the 6 chord to the 4. So it's a 1, 6, 4 chord progression. That's just a teaser. If you want me to explain what any of that means, it's very easy and I can do that. Drop a comment below. I will do it next lesson. Let's play it in and I'll do a little solo over it. Because it's in a major key, it has a brighter, more uplifting feel to it. And this is a good way to practice, I think, because you're learning about harmony, you're learning about soloing over the top of it. Ironically, what you're not doing is playing like a bass player, but it doesn't matter. You're learning a lot of musical, devices and things that will be good for you. So I think it's a good way to do this. I'm going to leave that lesson there for now. So don't forget, you've got the other lesson to look at. I'll leave a link right here. You can get the PDF for that for free with all the different shapes on. This is just how to use some of those shapes. There are 1,000,001 other ways you can do this. And if you want another lesson that's a bit like this, then do let me know. But I do think I would like to do another lesson where I'm teaching you a little bit more about that soloing stuff and the theory behind it. Leave a comment below. I hope you enjoyed that lesson, a little bit different to some of the other lessons I do. But thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.